U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with a Ukrainian delegation in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, on Tuesday for critical peace negotiations. The high-level discussions aimed at breaking the deadlock in the Ukraine war saw U.S. and Ukrainian officials seated at the negotiation table, signaling Washington's push for diplomacy. However, tensions ran high as Kiev refused to back down from its hardline stance onto territorial integrity and battlefield strategy. Despite growing U.S. pressure, Kiev has flatly rejected a ceasefire proposal that excludes ground combat. Ukrainian officials argue that freezing frontline battles would give Russia a strategic advantage, allowing Moscow to regroup, recruit fresh fighters, and prepare for new offensives. As Washington urges Kyiv to engage in peace talks, Ukrainian presidential advisor Serhiy Leshchenko fired back at Donald Trump's claims that Ukraine is stalling negotiations. Leshchenko laid out Ukraine's terms for a ceasefire, emphasizing that Kyiv is open to certain concessions, but not at the cost of losing ground.
Trump asks, "Is there a ceasefire plan?" We respond that we have one. We propose a ceasefire in the air, stopping drones, missiles, and ballistic strikes. We also propose a ceasefire at sea, where we commit not to attack. This is ironic because we currently hold the initiative in the Black Sea. Additionally, we propose halting attacks on energy infrastructure. If you want a ceasefire, we're ready, but not on land, where Putin could use the pause to treat wounded soldiers, recruit infantry from North Korea, and resume the war.
Leshchenko clarified that Ukraine is open to suspending aerial and naval hostilities, including drone and missile strikes, as well as Black Sea operations. However, he warned that a ground ceasefire would be a fatal mistake, giving Putin time to reinforce his forces and launch a deadlier offensive. Kyiv's refusal to soften its position comes amid concerns that any partial ceasefire could weaken U.S. support. American military aid and intelligence sharing remain Ukraine's lifeline, and Washington may reconsider its stance if Kyiv appears unwilling to compromise. At the Saudi negotiations, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio cautioned that Kyiv's firm stance could complicate peace talks.
We have a general sense of where things stand, but I hope this meeting will go well. The key takeaway must be clarity. Ukraine has repeatedly stated its desire for peace, but we need to assess how far apart both sides truly are. The bigger the divide, the harder the negotiations will be. Ultimately, Ukraine and Russia will both have to make difficult concessions if this war is to end, or at least be paused in some form. There's no specific phrase I need to hear, but both sides must recognize that a military victory is unlikely. Russia cannot conquer all of Ukraine, and Ukraine, in any reasonable time frame, cannot push Russia back to 2014 borders. Diplomacy is the only viable solution. The French and British have been supportive in these efforts, and we are optimistic about the upcoming meetings.
U.S. officials are reportedly frustrated with Kyiv's insistence on fully restoring pre-2014 or pre-2022 borders. Some warn that such rigid demands could push Washington toward advocating territorial compromises that favor Moscow. With diplomatic pressure mounting, Ukrainian officials fear that Washington may force Kyiv into a settlement that tilts the scales in Russia's favor, leaving Ukraine vulnerable and outmaneuvered. The growing divide between Kyiv and Washington underscores Ukraine's desperate struggle to hold its ground, both on the battlefield and in the political arena.